Are you intimidated by cover letters? You're not alone. Hi, everyone. It's Emily, the Career Catalyst, and today I want to go over 5 basic tips to get your cover letter right. Now, of course, there are more than 5 tips, but these are nice basic ones that are going to get you started and get you feeling a little bit more comfortable with the whole process of writing your cover letter. So tip number 1 is write a cover letter. And I know that feels really basic and really obvious, but here's the thing. If you poke around online and look for advice on cover letters, what you're going to see is around half the people whose articles you read will say, cover letters are stupid, nobody reads them, you don't need to bother, blah, blah, blah. The other half will say things like, cover letters are really essential, I'll never consider someone for a position without a really good cover letter. And what the heck do you do with that, right? Who do you trust? Whose information is reliable? Whose advice do you take? Well, the trick is that you're going to want to err on the side of caution here. So if you write a cover letter and nobody reads it, then what you've lost in the process is the extra effort it took to write the cover letter, right? If you don't write a cover letter and they really wanted it, then what you risk is that you're going to get ignored entirely because the employer has no idea about what your communication style is like, how you make your points, all of that kind of stuff. So write a cover letter. It's not that much effort, especially once you kind of get into your groove with it and understand your voice in the cover letter process. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is how to address the thing. So I have to tell you that I really hate to whom it may concern for a lot of reasons. The first one is that it always sounds sort of weird and stilted and overly formal to me, while also not being very personable. Just feels really kind of awkward to me. It's almost like you didn't bother to figure out who they were somehow. So you have a couple of choices then beyond that. So you can certainly go for something like Dear Hiring Manager or Dear Search Committee, one of those. But if possible, it's ideal to get the name of the person who makes the hiring decisions and address the letter to that individual. Now, that's not always possible, so don't kill yourself if you can't find it. But if you can find it, it's a really nice way just to demonstrate that you have done some research and to acknowledge that that is the person who makes the final decision in the hiring process. So if you find the name of a person and it's clear that that individual is a woman, she doesn't have PhD after her name, it's, somewhere says that she uses the pronouns she, her, and hers, then a lot of people get very confused and wonder, well, do I call her Mrs.? Do I call her Miss? And here's the thing, right? So it used to be the case that when a woman got married, like she earned some kind of prize, she became Mrs., MRS, period, at least in the US. Outside the US, it was just MRS. Inside the US, it's MRS, period. Women who weren't married were Miss, MISS. And, around the 60s and 70s, people started thinking, well, maybe that's not so cool. A guy's name doesn't change when he gets married. His address only changes as he gets more education. Maybe that's not so cool. And so what came out of that is the more egalitarian way of addressing a woman, an unknown woman, which is Ms., MS, period. So if you know that the person to whom you are addressing your cover letter is a female identified person, you're going to call her Ms. So-and-so. And then, of course, if it's a male identified person, you're going to call him Mr. Now, there's some gray areas here, right? What do you do if the person is gender nonconforming? What do you do if it's a name that isn't clear, like if it's, Chris something or the other? And so that gets a little confusing. You have a couple of options. One is you can call HR or whoever at that organization and just say, hey, I'm applying for this position, but I don't know how this person prefers to be addressed. And then, just use what they tell you. If you can't get that information, then you do have the option of using the person's full name. That always sounds a little bit awkward to me. It's just not very conversational, Dear Chris Smith. It's just kind of odd, but it's a better option than misaddressing a person. And then, of course, there's always the issue of whether the person is gender nonconforming. So a gender nonconforming person might have a particular way they like to be addressed, or they might not. But again, that's really going to be your call. Just give HR a call and see what they have to say. Be aware that some folks do like the salutation MX, which is a gender nonconforming salutation. It's usually pronounced MUX. So if you run into it, that's what it means, and that's why it's there. All right, third tip for your cover letter. Try to keep it to 1 page. And this, I know that I often talk about how resumes can be more than a page long, and I stand by that. The deal is that your resume is really designed to be skimmed, right? You want your high points in there. You want it to be very easy to pick out all of the key information. But your cover letter is very much designed to be read right? You're looking to demonstrate what your communication style is. You're looking to demonstrate that you can make an argument. You're looking to demonstrate that you've read the job description. So you want to do all of that within a page. And so you really want to kind of mentally arrange the document as 3 paragraphs. It might not be 3 completely, but that's kind of what you're going to have in your head, with the middle paragraph, of course, being the most important part of it. That's where you really kind of connect the dots between the job posting and what you have to offer. The point is to keep it to a page so that it doesn't feel like a big slog for them to read it, especially if they have to get through 20 or 30 of these in order to decide who they're going to interview in the process. All right, my fourth tip is to make sure that you customize it. I say this again a lot for the resume. It's really important for the cover letter. You want to demonstrate that you've read the job description. You want to demonstrate that you can do the job. And you really want to make sure that you name the organization a couple of times in the body of the cover letter. It just shows that you're really interested in that particular job and that you paid enough attention to the posting that you're really making the case that you can do this job here. So don't make yourself crazy customizing it super deeply every single time, but do make sure that you're taking some time to make sure that it's really addressing that particular organization and what they do. And then my final tip is really just make sure there are no errors in the document. You can't entirely rely on spell check for these kinds of things. Spell check is your friend, but it's sometimes also your enemy. There are plenty of words that are true words that aren't the ones you're trying to put in there. So make sure that you are proofreading the document, have other people proofread it, put it aside and proofread it again. You're looking for grammar errors, spelling, punctuation, formatting, anything that could read to your audience, in this case, the employers, as inattention, as a lack of knowledge, as carelessness, whatever it is. I was known back when I did this more often to reject cover letters based on more severe errors that I would see in there. There was one I saw where the person was trying to say that he had served on committees, but several times in the body of the cover letter, he said he had severed on the committees. That was a hard pass for me. So just really check it carefully, thoroughly, completely. Make sure that there are no errors in the document. All right, I hope that's helpful to you. I'm going to add some additional tips in the drop-down menu here. So let me know if you have questions, but have a good rest of your week, and I will see you here next week.